So what did we learn from the last World Cup with England? I think we learned that Eddie Jones has a plan. And I think that plan revolves around France. I think the last World Cup, it was all about New Zealand in the semi-final. He was working on a game plan for 4 years to beat New Zealand in that semi-final. And I think there's no difference this time with France. Unfortunately, but the frustration of the media, I think a lot of the games preceding the World Cup are experiments. They're almost like guinea pigs to that France game. I think he's trying things that will probably never work against the opposition, but they will work against France. I think there is a definite strategy there. You can see it in games beforehand against New Zealand. There was things that they tried against Wales in the Six Nations where they were never going to work against that team the way they set up and defend, but you put them against New Zealand and they worked. And that is potentially one of the best performances from an England team ever. And I think that I'm very confident that if we do get France in the semi-final, that we will have a plan in place to sort that. I think the other thing that we learned from the World Cup is that Eddie Jones needs a plan B. I think it was very all well and good that we had the game plan to beat New Zealand, but we came up against South Africa. Now they play a very different way, and I don't think we adapted to that game. We continue to play our power game, and I think against South Africa, that is a problem. We came up Eddie Jones was very candid in the last series against Australia, whereby he said that he had 2 game plans. So moving away from this discussion around unstructured play, he's finally given us insight into the fact that he wants to go in with 2 game plans. One is that physical dominance England play with a kick chase and just, physically punching up. And the other seems to be a game plan where they want to play wider. They want to move the ball away from contact quickly and get the ball into the wide channels. I think they are continuing to experiment with this. And again, I think this is all come from the fact that in that South Africa game, we didn't have a plan B, and that was to our detriment. And we may well come up against teams like South Africa again, or even other teams that we need to be able to move that ball depending on the way the game is being reffed and the way the game is going. I think the other thing is that we actually have an incredible player pool in England. You only got to look back at the England team that was in that World Cup. None of those players had previously been in a World Cup final. So there was a lot of pressure on that. And I don't think you can kind of replicate that with the fact that a lot of those players had won championships in Europe, in the Premiership. The World Cup final, the focus and the attention and the pressure is got to be greater, I'm sure. But you come around this World Cup, I would say at least a third of those players are going to be in the 23, if not more, because we've got the people who saw in the Australian series. But we've also got people coming back like Anthony Watson, Johnny May, Henry Slade, Sinclair. All these people were part of that, Manu, even Tuolangi, all these people were part of that World Cup final. So they're not going to be phased if we get to that stage. They're going to understand what to do and what not to do that they did last time. And I think that's I think that's an oversight a lot of time from the media, that actually he has got a core people team. And that's the likes of bringing back people like Vunipola. You've probably got Ben Youngs to come back. And then you could toss in people like Danny Kerr, who is experienced. Yes, he's not been there. That's different. But he still brings a lot of experience. And I think we've got players now that have got 4 years more experience at international level. They've been through quite a lot of lows. And I think that also helps you. And then that links to the final point, which I think is that the leadership team is much greatly improved. Again, look at that team from last time. You had Owen Farrell as captain. You probably then had some experienced players around him, but not necessarily leaders. Whereas this time you've got, I think, a core set of 3 leaders that bring you lots of variation. So likelihood is that Courtney Laws will lead the team out, but you've still got Owen Farrell there, as long as any of these people are fit, and Ellis Genge. I mean, what a diverse viewpoint on the game. I mean, you only have to listen to both Genge and Laws when they're talking about the game, and their whole perception and perspective on rugby is different to maybe Owen Farrell's. And I think that's got to be a powerful place to be in when you're developing a team. And then as we touched on previously, there's experience throughout that team. You've got people like Jamie George, you've got Ben Youngs, maybe Danny Kerr, you've got people in the back line. You've got a lot of people now pushing 50 plus caps who are going to be, as a result, brave enough to stand up and make their voice heard. And I think, when we get into these crunch positions, we need to be able to adapt on the field. I mean, it's been well reported, but we need to be able to have the players make decisions on the game and perhaps even take on Eddie Jones and his game plan if it's not working. Players get a feel for the pitch. They make decisions, simple things like kick to the corner, take the posts, what to do on a penalty, taking a scrum. These are big decisions that actually, when you reflect back on the game, can help shift momentum or, ultimately win the game. So I think that having a leadership team there gives me a lot of confidence going forward. And I genuinely think that England are going to be in a better position come this World Cup based on those factors. I think performance is kind of irrelevant at this stage. Yes, we would, I think, getting a year out, we need to start winning and maybe dominating games and executing the stuff that we're doing. But I think at this stage, it's all been about experimenting. It's all been about trying to get things in place. As I might have touched on previously, any organisation that looks at one game after the other will get, and looks in the short term, will have issues. The successful organisations look at the big picture. They look forwards. They know where they're going and they're building towards that. England need to develop in the next 12 months almost a split screen kind of an approach where they need to do things in the immediate future to build that confidence and so that people understand that the process that they're trying to go through is working, but they don't want to do that as a detriment at what their ultimate goal is, which, regardless again what the media say, these coaches are paid to win the World Cup. That's what they're all there for, and Eddie Jones is no different. And I think we've got to get back behind him, and I think we've got to understand that by looking back on how the last World Cup gone, I think that this one will be no different, and perhaps England can go one stage further and win the World Cup for a second time. So they're my views on where we're at with England in the rugby. Be good to get your comments and feedback. We'll be trying to do little videos particularly around the England rugby team, but other elements as well. So look out for other videos, look through the videos we've got so far. Thank you.